Welcome, everyone, to another Jags podcast, episode 19. We got a doozy for you tonight. We're talking about quarterbacks here on another Jags podcast. We cannot wait to dive into that position group. It's the one we've been waiting for, so we saved the best for last. And we are going to get to that very quickly. But before we do, we want to welcome Joey back to the show. Joey, you're back. Welcome.
I am so excited to be back, not only because of the quarterback, but because of the fact that, like, episode 16 was kind of like Rocky 5. 17 was kind of like Caddyshack 2. Like, I want to pretend like they didn't exist.
How so? Oh, okay.
You guys did a fantastic job on 18, but I'm ready to, like, contribute back to the group.
I was going to say, you were probably jealous. You were probably like, dang,
Possibly.
that podcast sounds really good. I need to get my voice back out there so
Maybe
people don't forget about me.
I forgot. He actually showed up tonight. I was like, oh, right, Joey. Yeah. I was wondering who that fourth cartoon character was.
I got to get another mic out.
Right.
Okay, I got it. It's right here.
You're here. Welcome. We have Jason as always here with us. Robert is not with us tonight. We don't know where Robert is, but we're gonna talk about the Jags anyway, and he's missing out. I hope we didn't tell him we were going to do it without him, but he'll find out soon enough, I guess.
Yeah, when it's live, he will.
Yeah. But we want to also remind everyone about our social media platforms that we're on. We are on Twitter at Another Jags Pod. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. Reach out to us on those platforms. We're actually going to be addressing some of you that asked us some questions via Twitter this past week. We're excited to answer those questions for you. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first, like always, we want to go right in to really what is the question of the entire season, of the entire franchise, and that is the quarterback position for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Joey, you are wearing Bortles' T-shirt tonight, so I'm assuming that means you're a fan, or is it just a shirt that fits?
No, I mean, it was intentional because from episode 2, I'm a Bortles fan. I'm all in. I think he's going to be fantastic. Pro Bowl. We'll go into more detail later, but yes, I'm wearing the T-shirt.
Hey, let's not wait. You just said Pro Bowl, Blake Bortles.
Pro Bowl. I'm talking about 3,900 yards passing, 400 yards rushing, 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, making the Pro Bowl. The dude's making the leap.
Okay, that's we have a bold prediction right off the bat.
Lock it in as bold as you want. I'm all in on Bortles.
We can tell you've missed the last 3 episodes. You're just coming in strong.
I kind of listened like the first 10 minutes of each.
So you think Bortles is having a Pro Bowl year this year?
Absolutely.
That's coming out hot, man.
Like, literally, I'm guaranteeing it.
So you got to think about the other quarterbacks in the
We just had a Joey guarantee.
I mean, we're looking at quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, my boy Ryan Tannehill. You think he's going to be all of them for a Pro Bowl?
Phillip Rivers.
I was talking about Phillip Rivers, but seriously, there is a bunch.
It might not be a first ballot. It might be I'm not going to go, Bortles gets in. But, dude, he's going to be eligible for the Pro Bowl this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're all eligible.
And he's
You're saying his statistics will
warrant.
it
It won't be a question. It'll be like he is the guy. There's no way it's not happening.
So we're not starting with Tanner Lee, okay? So I need to get to my Bortles notes because I was planning on starting with Tanner Lee.
I don't know who that is.
So I think I agree. Bortles is going to have a great year. I'm with you there, but
well, you agree? But
I agree with half of it.
With me to
we wanted to clarify what you were saying.
Clear enough.
I just want to clarify.
Right.
I don't think he makes the Pro Bowl, not because he's not good enough. It's just because that's the way the voting is. But I think he has a really good season this year. I think so.
I agree.
Well, this might be a really boring show because I was going to have this big bold prediction that Bortles was going to have a monster year this year. But I think so, and not just because I understand that listeners may hear us and say, well, these guys are Jaguar fans and they're being homers. But history says that this is when guys come into their element. And it's not just about Bortles this year. He's got an amazing defense that's going to give him more opportunities. He's got a great rushing attack that's going to allow him to progress in the passing game. Really, the only question is, and we talked about this on our last episode, is the wide receivers. You know, are they going to be able to help him as well? And not to mention the fact that he's now under year 2 with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. I think that's a huge deal because that has never happened with Bortles as a Jacksonville Jaguar. So in his entire career, he's never played for the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back seasons. Stability is all around him. They've improved the offensive line. So they have built this team around him, and now it's time to say, here you go. And they've given him the contract extension. They did not draft they drafted Tanner Lee, but that was in the 6th round, I think. Obviously, not a threat. They didn't sign anybody. I don't even think they went after anybody, at least not seriously.
Unless you count Kessler. Who was traded for conditional 7th.
Right, which I don't think that was in any way brought in to be real competition. It was really just a cheaper Chad Henne. But I mean, they didn't go after Kirk Cousins. They didn't do anything like that. They didn't knock on the Eagles' door for Nick Foles. So the front office clearly believes in him. So yeah, I think the pieces are there.
I mean, I did some research and I looked into it.
You do have some hard copy pieces of paper
I
in front of you.
lots of pieces of paper, and that's the way I roll. I was thinking about the fact it's his fourth season was last season. This is his 5th year, and everybody's knocking him for everything that's happened. Even though, like you said, multiple offensive coordinators, wide receivers that nobody could even name, offensive line that was like couldn't even block anybody for a long time, all that stuff. So I looked up like the top 5 or 6 elite quarterbacks that I would think about, what their 4th year stats were like. And, dude, his stats are on par with all of them except for Drew Brees. I mean, Brady, 60% passer rating, 3,600 yards, 23 TDs, 12 INTs. And Bortles last year was exactly the same. I mean, literally, you're off like 2 touchdowns. That's it.
Who else you got on there?
We've got Drew Brees. Blew him away. So we're not going to name that.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, 62.7 passer rating to Bortles' 60. 4,100 yards to his 3,700 roughly. But you look at 26 TDs to 23 INTs. Bortles was 21 to 13. All the elite quarterbacks we think about.
And those are first ballot Hall of Fame guys,
Yes, they're not like the above average. They're making the Hall of Fame. And Bortles did as good as any of them last year. We got to give him some credit, man.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing to look at is how well he's progressed since he was drafted. We posted a video on our Twitter of some highlights of him at UCF and then some highlights of him with the Jaguars. And his throwing motion is evidently changed. Comes out faster. He doesn't drop it as low. He has more zip on the ball. It doesn't take as long to wind up. He's improved every single year. And whether it's go out to California and work with Tom House, quarterback's guru, or these guys he's had. I mean, he's had a bunch of offensive coordinators, but he's had some good ones. I mean, Jed Fish had a decent stretch there of games. Greg Olson is like historically a quarterback coach. And now Nathaniel Hackett is one of my favorite offensive coordinators. And so he's had some good coaches around him. Pro Football Focus did a breakdown of like the supporting cast of like the top, all the starting quarterbacks. And it's funny to see where they put Bortles with that. Because with the running backs, they have all these, analytics that you can believe if you want, but they have the Jaguars running back ranked the 21st best running back.
That's crazy.
I would say it's crazy, but if you factor in Bortles' running ability, I mean, they have Bortles ranked as the 8th best running back as a quarterback. And if you factor that in with the 21st, it kind of brings us closer to where we're at. But
so wait, hold on. Let me make sure I understand that. You're saying that Pro Football Focus is saying that Leonard Fournette is the 21st
best running back.
Best running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you would take, there's 20 other running backs in the NFL that you would rather have than Leonard Fournette?
Well, I mean, I get his point, though. It's based on the offense. And the reason I say that is I thought the same thing. I was thinking the fact, like scheme-wise, Bortles is going to rush for more this year than he's ever rushed for. So I looked up those statistics. Actually, last year was his worst rushing year ever. Least amount of TDs, least amount of yards, and all that. It's because he didn't need to.
Right.
Because we
That's
have
a good
a
thing.
back that can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So Fournette's going to be awesome, man. We all know that.
I know.
That's not even a question.
We talk about chip on your shoulder all the time. That Joey, I'm stealing your thunder here, but I think I know we're talking about quarterbacks, but just really quick while we're on the subject, Fournette is going to come in with a huge chip on his shoulder next year because he really didn't get much respect last year for whatever reason. I don't really know.
He was a rookie. He was injured.
Yeah.
So
and he just had to drop 10 pounds to be faster, I assume.
Yeah.
So I think the dude's going to light it up.
Yeah, me too. But back to Bortles.
All right, then they got the slot receiver. They actually ranked our slot receiver 6th in the NFL. So not like just our one slot receiver, but like
just the position as a whole.
The position as a whole. And remember, this is just last year. So although they did rank Fournette 21st, I was just saying last year. So like next year we could expect improvement and we'll be up from there. Slot receiver 6th, outside receiver 23rd, and tight end 24th. So according to their metrics, he had a very subpar supporting cast around him, which
is accurate.
Yeah.
Who can argue that? But
so
they're all young.
Yeah, and they brought in pieces this year. And I'm just reinforcing your fact. I think they'll have a better year because of the pieces they've brought in. And a quarterback can't do it. I mean, we've seen great quarterbacks not be good because of their offensive line or because of their supporting cast and things like that. So
I mean, and don't discount Norwell, giving everybody more time.
Absolutely. Listen, people forget Bortles was drafted 3rd overall to a dumpster fire of a team. He was not even supposed to play his first year, but Henne was so bad they threw him into the 3rd game of the year, not the 12th, not the 14th, the 3rd game of the year. I mean, there was no expectation of him then, and so except from the fans, and we live in a society now where everything is instantaneous. Everything has to be right now, including quarterbacks. I mean, people expect every quarterback to be Andrew Luck or Carson Wentz, where you come in your rookie year and you look like you've been in the league for 5. That's just not reality. What the Jags have done, to their credit, has given Bortles time to progress, going back to Joey's point, like other quarterbacks who were given that same luxury, like Brady and Breeze and other guys like Peyton Manning. Rodgers, let them progress. Let them learn. I think what we're seeing from Bortles more than anything from his first 3 years to the end of last year going into this year is comfort. I think he's just comfortable with the scheme, with the coaching, with the players around him, and he's now on a real team where when he came into the league, I mean, their roster was atrocious.
It's funny you say that because the only other guy besides Breeze that kind of jumped off the chart on this compared to Bortles as far as like the year he started was Rodgers, and that was his 5th year.
Right.
Because he didn't play the first 4 years. So his 5th year, his numbers were not that much better, and he had 4 years to train behind Brett Favre, one of the best ever.
And not just
don't get that anymore.
And learn the system.
Yes.
Learn the league. Peyton Manning, he played his rookie year, but no one expected him to do anything. And how many games did he win his rookie year?
He wasn't that good.
I think he won
the
1.
Only year he had more interceptions than touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same Troy Aikman won 0. They won 0 games his rookie year. The guy's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. But now it again, so much of it is, and I'm not trying to do a social commentary here, but so much of it is on the fact that we want results yesterday. And
no, I mean,
you got to give quarterbacks time.
Yeah, there's no more like ease them into the situation behind somebody legit. It's you're an elite quarterback. We're drafting you at this point. We're paying you this much money. We expect results now, and that's not how it works, man.
Right.
I mean, for the most part.
Right.
I mean, there's those select few that can do that, but that's few and far between. He's ready for the leap, man.
Yeah,
I'm obviously bought in.
When they drafted him, they said they made no secret about it that he was a project. We understand that he's a little rough around the edges, and we need to work with him. We need to coach him up. But unfortunately, because of the state of the team, he was thrust into the game much sooner than they had hoped. What they did say about him when they drafted him is that he's a winner. And I think we've seen that. We see how he's tough. He handles criticism extremely well. And
I think that's an understatement.
It is an understatement.
Seriously,
that's
an
a
understatement.
gross understatement.
Because that dude has been crapped on his entire career, and you haven't seen one thing of him on Twitter or some TMZ video where he goes off
ever.
And I think that's why people love him so much. Have you noticed there's been like a general sentiment shift in Bortles like really recently after this year? Like people love to hate on him, and they still do. But now he's kind of morphing into like the people's quarterback.
When you say people, are you talking about Jacksonville residents or the national audience?
I'd say both, but more so in Jacksonville, but definitely both. Like you see on NFL Network, he gets a lot more love than he ever did now. I mean,
NFL Network loves the Jags.
Yeah, and they
rightfully so.
I agree, and they earned it this year. But there's been a shift. He used to be the butt of all the jokes, and now he's like we all kind of like this guy. And like everyone kind of like the second team is like the Jaguars and Bortles, and it's because, like you said, he doesn't like come back. He lets the criticism just roll off of him, which is so hard to do nowadays, and like the oversaturation of social media for him just to be like, I can take all this and still just play my game.
Right. And that's part of the reason I love him. And if you're a leader, that's a fantastic trait to have as a leader. You think about all the times he got ripped in like post-game press conferences. Did you ever hear him blame anything on his offensive line, receivers, scheme, coaches, ever?
Never.
No, you didn't. Because that's what a leader does. He owns it. He's like, I'm the man. I'm getting paid a ton of money. I'm the man on this team. That's my job. I'll take all the blame for it.
And on NFL Network, when they asked him about expectations for this year, he spent the entire time crediting the defense and like his supporting cast. He took no time to talk about anything that he's done, which is amazing.
Not to mention he took less money, to
come back. Yeah,
I mean that's great. I think going back to what you were saying, Jason, in terms of this kind of view of him, there's been a shift. I think for a lot of Jaguar fans, there is this he's so incredibly likable that most Jaguar fans, I would imagine, what I've gathered is I don't know if there's a player the Jags have had in a long, long time that you've rooted for so hard to be good because you just like the guy so much. And that again goes to his character and just he's the everyman. He's just a guy that you could hang out with and you get along with really well. So having said that, Bortles, you're welcome on our show whenever you'd like.
Absolutely, he's almost like the Gus Bradley of quarterbacks. Like everybody likes the guy,
except he's good.
Don't put him
except for he actually has the ability to do it.
Right.
So
the Ringer podcast network came out with their most recent NFL podcast. They talked about best and worst quarterback situations in the NFL. And I usually respect them because they're not biased, but they ranked the Jaguars and Bortles as a bottom 5 quarterback situation for the sole reason.
That's Bill Simmons, right?
Yes.
It wasn't Bill Simmons on the podcast, but it is his network
thing,
of podcasts.
Well, he's a Patriot fan, man. I mean,
I know, but he wasn't really involved. But this was their justification.
Oh, yeah.
He said that the Jaguars, although at not a high cap risk, put all their eggs into the Bortles basket. And because the team is propped and everywhere else to be elite, they should have had a backup plan installed in case something bad happens with Bortles or he ends up being what everyone thinks he is as being bad. Then they're wasting an extremely talented team because they don't have like another plan at backup quarterback.
I would almost kind of agree with that, except for the opposite side. Like if he gets hurt, we're done.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Yeah.
There's no backup plan for that.
We get to that in a second. We're talking about Cody Kessler. but I think what they're saying.
I don't think his production is going to be that bad.
Yeah, he's just I love Bortles. He does have moments of inconsistency, like the Chargers game. The team bailed him out hardcore in that. The Titans game at the end of the year, the 49ers game at the end of the year.
Buffalo, like he sucked in the first half. I mean,
but he also won that game. The Buffalo game.
I agree.
He won the Buffalo game, but you don't want your quarterback winning it on it with his feet.
You don't.
You want him to be able to, but you don't want it to come down to that in the playoffs.
No, you don't. But
I don't think that's on Bortles.
No.
And I don't mean to cut you off. I think the offensive line was the biggest to blame with that. But I think not. I'm excluding the Buffalo game. I'm saying maybe the end of the Patriots game, Titans game, 49ers game. That's all. I just see where they're coming from.
And the thing is, you're completely right. But the majority of good quarterbacks to elite quarterbacks in their first 4 years do the same thing. This is year he's making the leap.
Would you have felt more comfortable with like a Teddy Bridgewater
Absolutely
on the roster?
Not. No.
Just in case, though.
I mean, but what does that cut? I mean, where's that money come from?
let me ask you this: is Teddy Bridgewater going to start for the Jets this year?
I don't think so.
Then if he can't beat out a rookie, I know that you know when you draft a rookie quarterback that high and like Sam Darnold, then you're gonna obviously the expectations for him to play, but a coach is going to go with whoever is going to win them games because their job is on the line too. So if Bridgewater can't beat out Sam Darnold in his rookie year, that doesn't speak well for Bridgewater, even though, again, reports have been saying that he has been doing really well in training camp.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I see where they're coming from. And I'm always going to have that tiny – I love Bortles. I'll probably say that 100 times on this podcast. So we'll have a counter at the end.
Right.
But I love Bortles, but –
You love Bortles, but you're going to back that on the fence with –
You're going to qualify it.
He flashes moments where you're just scratching your head like, what are you – like he missed – I think early in the year, it was either against the Titans or against the Texans in the first or second game of the year. He just missed a wide open screen pass. And you're just like, God, man, you got to drop that off to the running back. Like that's got to be 100%. That's got to be more certain than a free throw. I mean, to be able to drop that off.
That's the thing about him is the eye test. Like when he's good, he looks fantastic. When he's bad, God, he looks so bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's part of it is that it's not like he's good and then his inconsistent stuff is like close. His inconsistent stuff is like just, I could throw it better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes it look way worse than it is. But I think that's kind of gone at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like those moments are fewer and far between.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the pick sixes.
Yeah, I mean, he threw like 12 interceptions last year. 0. The most impressive thing is that he threw 0 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's big. Because that's when it counts.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I get your point, Jason. 100%.
Yeah. And I don't want you to think that I'm like.
Well,
no,
his resume, and if you've watched his career, it gives you cause. There's cause for concern there.
Absolutely.
But you have to again, what we've been talking about tonight. You have to look at it all in context. And when you do that, you see a quarterback that is on the rise, that is ascending, I believe. And I don't know if I'm going to say Pro Bowl like Joey did, just kind of because of
definitely Pro Bowl.
But I will say this. I think when it's all said and done, the end of this regular season, he's head and shoulders the best quarterback in our division. Which if you listen to the national pundits right now, they're saying he's the worst, and it's not even close, including Andrew Luck, who hasn't thrown a football, at least an NFL regulation-sized football, in over a year and a half, which is incredibly concerning if you are a Colts fan. But they're still putting Luck ahead of him, even with that medical issue. And I disagree. I think Bortles is going to be better than Watson, than Luck, and Mariota, who, by the way, here's what kills me. Mariota had, 13 interceptions and 11 touchdown passes last year? I'm saying that off the top of my head. You might want to fact check me on that one. But I know he had more interceptions than he did touchdowns.
Yeah.
For some reason, he gets a hall pass on that. Everyone seems to be saying, oh, well, he's going to bounce back. But with Bortles, there's no, and I understand he's had, 3 years of it, but I don't know. It just seems like everyone's not allowing him to get better. Like they're refusing to believe that he can get better. And we saw it. If you watched it last year, December into the playoffs, he played really well. And there was moments, obviously, but you always say you want your team to be winning in December, and he played winning football in December.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to continue on that. That he feels the confidence of the team. He's got his contract behind him. I don't think it was ever anything that he really wanted to put too much time into anyway. He's seen how they've invested him with players around him. He's got the Austin Seferian-Jenkins now, which I think is going to be a huge weapon for him. But yeah, I cannot wait to see him prove all the critics wrong, like I believe he's going to do this year. Let me ask you guys this really quick. This came from one of our followers on Twitter, at Andrew H. Lloyd. He asked if we could address whether or not Blake was better last year because of effective game scripts, game plans, and good game situations, or was it just he's just better? So I think what he's asking, was it Hackett's play calling versus just him being better at his position?
I'm gonna jump in front of Joey here.
No, I was gonna say
just in case he tries to take my answer.
Let Jason go so I can argue with him.
I think it's a mixture of both, but more the scheme. Because I love Hackett, and if you go back and watch, especially the play actions, the play calls were on point all year last year. I know people are ripping Hackett for how he play called the end of the Patriots game, but honestly, outside of that, his play actions, the plays they called, were just getting people wide open. I mean, Bortles made some good throws into tight windows, but he didn't have to as much as he had to in the past because of what happened. That being said, Greg Olsen was Bortles' coordinator last year, and Greg Olsen is getting a lot of credit for Jared Goff's success this year because he was the quarterback coach with the Rams this year. This year, he took the offensive coordinator job with the Raiders, so he's going to be back with Derek Carr, kind of where he was before Bortles. He's a legendary. I mean, John Gruden hired the guy. He's a legendary offensive coordinator, and Bortles wasn't very good with him. So I could see someone making that argument about a good game plan and it being him improving because his supporting cast dropped off last year than the year before. I mean, Fournette was better, but his receivers were significantly worse. I mean, you go from Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns to Marquise Lee and Keelan Cole. That's a drop off. And I'm big on Keelan Cole, but I mean, Allen Robinson's getting $15 million. That dude's getting paid. So I mean, it's a hard question, honestly, to know, and I hope he's progressed.
Yeah, Arab's getting $15 million to piss off on our quarterback.
Trubisky got like highly rated on like the next level analytics, so I think people are like kind of big on him. But
I mean, we'll see. I hope he does well. Honestly,
no, you don't.
Do you though?
No, I don't. I actually don't. I'm saying that to say that.
No, you don't.
I think that's one of the big things that's going to help Bortles this year. He doesn't have to deal with that. But on top of it, like I do kind of agree with you in the fact that the scheme did matter, but it was a consistent scheme. He knew what to expect this year. He knew what was going into next year, and I think Hackett's amazing. Talk about Olsen all you want. I mean, I think Hackett is nailing it.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, he went up against one of the best coaches of all time, and that was the only time that he really didn't scheme well, and it was just the second half. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a dude that nobody had heard of like before then, for the most part.
He got out-coached by the greatest coach of all time.
Exactly, and that's what should happen in that.
Right.
The biggest game of the season, second half. I mean, come on. He's working on it, but Bortles is better because he's more comfortable. He knows the playbook. He knows that he's going to be the quarterback. I think all that plays into the fact that he's going to have the best year ever.
I would argue, too, that, and I don't, this really wasn't your point, Jason, but that Sean McVay probably has more to do with Jared Goff's success than Greg Olson, just because when he got on the scene, everything changed in L.A. for the Rams. You know, and Greg Olson was here as the OC for, I don't know, was it 2 years or was it just one?
He was here in like 2012 for like a random stint as a quarterback coach for Blaine Gabbert. And
But then he became the OC.
Then he was the OC for, I think, just a year.
Okay.
After Jed Fish.
When he was here as the OC. And again, this might be something where they just didn't have the players around him to do what he wanted. But, man, that was the most stagnant offense ever. It was run first down, run second down, try and throw on third down, and punt. But anyway, I digress. I don't think that really has anything to do with what we're talking about. But, yeah, I would say, really, if you look at every quarterback, offensive coordinator relationship in the NFL, what the offensive coordinator's job is to highlight the strengths of its offense. So it's kind of like you're arguing against yourself in a way when you're talking about, is Bortles better versus the scheme? Well, that's the whole point of coaching, isn't it? To create a scheme where your player, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, whatever, gets better. And so it's a credit to both of them. Bortles thrived in the system, and Hackett gave him a system with which he could thrive in. I think what we're going to see this year is that system expand. Okay, now we have something to build upon, some success to build upon from this past season. Let's open up the playbook more for you, Bortles, and let's try a little bit more deeper throws. Let's add the tight end more here. You know, let's do this and that, and just kind of they're just adding things in for him to do. See what works, see what doesn't. But again, word on the street is what we've been hearing all we can grab hold of now, because it's July and there's no football going on, is that Bortles knows the playbook inside and out, way more than anybody else in that building. He has spent the offseason learning it backwards and forwards, and he's got it, and that's not even going to be a factor. So imagine that for him. You know, you're the quarterback, and now you have the confidence of when whatever play they call, you know it immediately. You know where everyone's going to be, rather than going up, getting under center and second-guessing yourself. Is this the route this guy runs on this play? I'm not 100%. According to reports, that's not going to happen. He knows the playbook. So I'm excited to see what new stuff that they have.
And that's a great point. I mean, I think a lot of the criticism between Hackett and Bortles was that Hackett was having to limit the offense because of Bortles' inability to throw. Bortles was super comfortable last year, and everybody was calling for him to run more, design run plays. And the answer to that was, well, we don't need design run plays because we've got play action plays, and Bortles can make the decision if he wants to run or not. So, I mean, that shows me that him and Hackett are working hand in hand, that they're on the same page. And that's going to even be more so this year. I think more last year was the fact that we had wide receivers nobody had ever heard of, who had never even played. And Keenan McCardell
there you go.
is going to nail that like he did last year. I mean, that's just only going to get better. It's going to be great this year, guys. I mean, everybody just has to be excited.
Let me ask you this. Where do you see the Jaguars' offense ranked overall after 16 games? Where are they? Top 10, top 5?
Honestly,
top
I
15?
don't even think that really matters for the most part.
I'm only asking because of what you just said.
I know. I mean, if I had to throw a number out there, I would say probably 10 to 15.
Okay.
I mean, we'd be remiss not to mention how good the defense was.
Yeah, I mean,
for attributing to Bortles' success.
Sure.
I mean, it's no secret that defense leads to offense. So
great
having the number one defense, depending on who you ask, no secret that helps Blake. If our defense continues to score the way it does, they can just keep Bortles as a game manager, which is what he's become really proficient at. And back when he needed to be the guy to score points, you kind of saw some of his weaknesses. His inconsistencies shown more when he had to do that. But now that he just needs to not turn the ball over, he's more than capable of playing that role. I mean, that's why I think some of these backup guys on our team could come in and fill that role. And just because of what we need him to do. Throwing 12 interceptions last year was a little much for him. And that's not, in the scheme of things, that's not a lot of interceptions. But if he can get that down to single digits, I mean, that's a top-ranked offense for us just because of our running game. Our defense is going to get our offense on the field more than any other team's going to. Our special teams is good. So really, we just need Blake to not turn the ball over, and he's shown that's the most promising thing for me is last year he's shown that he can do that now.
Right.
Well, that's a great point because, as I was looking through the list the elite quarterbacks and what they did in their fourth year, Flacco was one of the ones that I searched. And when I pulled up Flacco, I was like, well, I can't put him in here. Like every year there's 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, 10 INTs, 85 quarterback rating. That's what Bortles needs to be with our defense, just like Flacco was with the Baltimore defense. I mean, that's all he has to be, and I think he's more than that. The sky's the limit, man.
Let me ask you this. Okay, let's say, because the defense is legit, we know that, but every great defense is going to have an off week. We want them to be elite all 16 games of the regular season. They expect to be elite all 16, but human nature, just the game, there's going to be a hiccup here or there. Is Bortles, does he give you more confidence this year or any confidence at all to be the quarterback in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left that can drive the field and score a touchdown to win the game?
I'm perfectly fine with that. I think he can do that. I think the gamer that he is will allow him to do that. When you ask that question, what I'm more concerned with is if we're down 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, is he the guy that can bring us back at that point? Because he hasn't proven to be that guy. I think he can win it at the last minute if it's close, but if we're down big, can he come back? That's the only concern I have with him.
That's kind of what we saw in the 49ers game. Like, we got down big early, and that's really where we're not strong.
No.
You hate that 49ers game.
I think I bring it up.
It was
You
like
bring on every podcast.
I can't get it out of my
Still
head.
sitting in your crawl.
I think there's a lot of circumstances around that game that had nothing to do with the Jaguars that also made me upset about it. But they exposed our weaknesses as a team. They really, really did. They picked on our linebackers in the passing game, and they got up big on us early. And there was a couple times in that game where we were back in it, but they made plays when they had to. And, man, it's hard for me to even watch that game, to rewatch that game.
And honestly, that was a team that wasn't fantastic with a quarterback that had started one game at that point.
No.
3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean,
They were hot at the time.
They were hot, but I mean,
that team's only going to get better, though.
Oh, don't be.
I mean, that D-line is nasty.
They're gonna be good.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was ugly.
It was.
We had nothing to gain. Listen, they want to win every game. They coached to win every game. We had nothing to gain in that game whatsoever in terms of our playoff position.
That's true.
Just going to throw that out there.
And
I
it
think
was West Coast,
Yeah.
or like kryptonite, obviously. But
I think they dialed a lot back because they were saving stuff for the playoffs, including the Tennessee game. Not to say they didn't want to win that game big time. They obviously did. We all wanted them to win that one.
It's just the turnovers that get me. I'm cool with like not getting yards. I'm cool with not playing good defense. That's going to happen, like you were saying. It's a long season. But the turnovers, that's what will kill you. And those are mental mistakes. Those are things that are just a lack of focus a lot of times. So when you start to see games like the 49ers, like the Titans, really all the games that we lost were Blake's highest. I mean, the Chargers, he threw like 3 picks. I mean, that's
2 in the last 2 minutes of the game.
You cannot turn the ball over. Whether you're a running back running or quarterback passing, you cannot turn the ball over. So those are the things that get me. And Blake notoriously turned the ball over a lot. This year he's turned that down. But if we see old Blake turning the ball over, I mean, that's how you get benched. I mean, you don't get benched missing throws. You get benched turning the ball over. If turnover Blake comes out, we're in trouble. If who we saw last year, which is what I expect, then we should be fine.
Give me, Jason, a touchdown to interception line going into next year.
So what was he this year? 21-12? Is that what he was?
Yes.
21-13.
21-13. I'm going to say this year he goes 25-15.
Okay.
Ooh.
So he's throwing a little more.
Yeah.
Gets picked off a few more times.
How many total yards? Or actually,
Ooh.
passing yards.
What was
and
he this year?
rushing yards.
3,600?
He was 3687.
I'd say a little higher. So I'd say he gets to 4,000.
All right. What about rushing yards? He was like 320 and change.
I think he goes down a little bit. Goes down to 250.
Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing.
Yeah. What about you, Joey?
I have him written right here.
Ooh.
I would say 3,900 yards passing, 400 yards rushing, 65% completion percentage, that's the big increase.
That's big.
27 TDs, 10 INTs, which it should put him at like a 90 QB rating.
Wait, 27-10?
Yeah.
Whew. He is making the Pro Bowl, huh?
Yeah, he is.
I know.
Those are
Those
Pro
are
Bowl
Pro Bowl
numbers.
stats, bro.
Yeah, they are. They are.
James, throw us a prediction.
I actually think he's not going to be too different from this year. Not because of lack of improvement. I think his completion percentage will go up. I think his line's going to be maybe I'll say like 20. I'll say 23-12. You know, which is not too much different. But I just think it's because of what we were saying just a minute ago. I believe that there's still going to be a defensive-led team, a rush-first run the ball first, establish the run, and so they're just not going to require as much of him as other pass happy teams. So even though the statistics might not change drastically, I think his play still will, if that makes any sense. I don't know. At the same time, I could see him having Joey's, the numbers that Joey gave.
Well, let's go back to like the elite quarterbacks. Out of all the Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan,
Peyton Manning retired, by the way.
Well, I mean, sure,
Yeah.
but in their fourth year.
Okay.
Comparing
Going
them
back.
Bortles.
Gotcha.
The only one who had less than 12 interceptions in their fourth year, Drew Brees.
Wow, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Like, we don't give quarterbacks these days enough time to develop. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, we don't.
I agree.
I need more time to think about the numbers for him. I know I threw it out on y'all, but I'm just considering the whole offensive scheme and what they want him to do. I don't know. He could go a long way with it in terms of the jump that he's going to make. I just don't know. I don't know.
The good thing is he doesn't have to do a ton.
Exactly, and that's why I'm a little hesitant to give him gaudy numbers. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it too. Like if the other team gets the ball on their own 20 and they go 3 and out, like that's not a lot of passing yards between them then in the end zone. You know what I mean? He might still get a touchdown, but it could be on a little 2-yard deal or whatever. So it's just. I think about that touchdown pass that he had in the Bills game. That was on the goal line, 4th down. That was a huge play. Huge play. But that's not going to show up on the stat line. It was a 1-yard completion on 4th down. It was a touchdown. But it's just things like that, I think, is what we're going to see more of, is just him in the clutch, making the right throw, the right read. But it might not necessarily be a 60-yard bomb. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. I did have one fun stat, and I didn't want to tell you guys beforehand because I want to see if you guys knew, because I had no idea, and I still don't know. I didn't even have a chance to look it up. Bortles actually has a reception for 20 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, thrown by Marquise Lee, right? And it was against the Ravens?
I don't know the team. What year, though?
2015?
16.
Ah.
Dang, I knew you'd be close. It's pretty amazing because I was like, has a reception for a touchdown?
Man, I went crazy when that happened, man. Because Marquise Lee played quarterback in high school.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. I knew you'd know.
Yeah. I think if you make the NFL, like you played
quarterback
in high school.
Yeah, true. Good enough.
I thought this was interesting, and this is something that on our Twitter account we liked that someone posted. I'm just going to rip them off completely here, but it says that Bortles, whose top 2 targets, this is last year, were Marquise Lee and Keelan Cole, had 3,687 yards and 21 touchdowns. Jameis Winston, on the other hand, who had Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, 3,504 yards and 19 touchdowns.
Wow.
So, I mean, when you consider the weapons, and Jameis Winston was the number 1 overall pick, a lot of people thought that he was a lock to be, the next great quarterback. Hasn't panned out. I mean, who would you rather have at this point?
I'd rather have the quarterback that's not banned from Uber, personally.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention all the off-field stuff.
I was going to say, with the off-the-field issues, definitely.
And that's something to consider.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I would pick Bortles at this point, which is crazy to say.
I know.
I would have picked Winston last year or the year before. But, yeah, Bortles has proved himself better than him.
Oh, man, that's tough. You're right. I mean, ask us this question any other time, and it's Winston, hands down. But, gosh, then off-the-field stuff and
he's been a pain.
Yeah, he really has. And he makes throws. He's another guy like Bortles that makes throws that make you just kind of scratch your head sometimes. You're just like, what word did you even see when you threw that?
But then he makes throws that are like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like,
the problem is he thinks he can make that throw on every throw.
Yeah.
True.
Are there any quarterbacks in our own division in the AFC South that you would trade out?
Deshaun Watson is like grading out like incredibly high on the games he played last year. Every advanced metric on the guy has him in like the top 3 for like key passes, big time passes, deep throw passes, these like quarterback ratings. Like he was up there. Like when he was playing, he was making some big time throws. Then he did get an ACL injury. So that does throw like kind of a wild card into the whole situation, but it's just so hard to know in that situation. I would not want to have Luck. I would not want to have Mariota. But Watson, I was big on him when he came out of college. I don't know. He looked really good.
Jags could have drafted him.
I was huge on Watson as well. I agree 1,000% there. I wish they would have almost, but the fact that he got hurt, I think we're looking at RG3. I mean,
really
great first season, Not much after that. And I honestly think Houston is like 1 or 2 steps away from a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
I mean, their
window is
their
closing
team is
rapidly.
like all there, but it doesn't take much for them to fall apart. So I'm not worried about them. Luck, I mean, I hate it for the guy, but I think he's done. I mean, he probably could have been the next elite quarterback, but it just didn't happen. And even if he is healthy this year, what's he got around him? I mean, he's just going to get drilled again over and over again. Mariota is the only guy in our division that I'm kind of scared about because, I mean, I know you guys said that
Terrible year last year.
he did have a terrible year last year, but he was hurt almost the whole year. It's all going to come down to coaching for them, I think. I still think he is or has a lot of potential to be an elite quarterback. He scares me.
He had a strong stretch of the season the same time Bortles did. So I think they classified it as like the third quarter of the season that Bortles was in the top 5 for like passer ratings, but like Mariota was like higher than him in that same quarter. So
And he's kind of shown that he can do it. I mean, and he is a legit quarterback.
he's got injury problems too. So that's what's about every quarterback in the division. They all have injury concerns, and Bortles has nothing.
Yeah. And the big difference there, he's way bigger than all of them.
Yeah.
He's huge.
I mean, Mariota is not a
Yeah.
huge guy. And he had a clunker of, I mean, at least in terms of numbers, you know, he did flash. And I hear what you're saying, Joey. He kind of has that it factor where you're never at ease with him on the other side. He can lead his team down and score, you know, at any moment's notice. Deshaun Watson, I just think it's too soon to tell. The sample size is so small with him.
You're right.
Defenses can in the NFL figure you out quickly, and they didn't have time last year because he played so short. When he comes back, will they be able to? And then we'll see what he can do. Then can he make his adjustments after the NFL has made their adjustments? And I'm with y'all. I'm a huge Deshaun Watson fan. I loved him in college. I loved watching him with Clemson.
Yeah, I almost wish he wasn't in our division so I could root for him more because, I mean, talk about chip on your shoulder.
Right.
I mean, I hope that guy does well, but not against us.
I mean, what is he? Was he the third quarterback taken in the draft?
It was ridiculous.
I mean, Trubisky before him?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
No.
Anyway, that was supposed to be a bad draft class for quarterbacks. Turns out like it's going to be all right. I don't know. Bortles versus the other 3 guys. I guess everything will play out, but you know, kind of going to the point of all the other guys have injury problems. We haven't seen that with Bortles, but if we do have a new backup quarterback. I think Jason. I think you may have a little man crush on him.
Are we about to
A
start?
little bit?
We're about to start the Cody Kessler.
yeah,
If we're
I
about to
think
start
it's here.
Cody Kessler. I need to fit my hat.
Unless there's anything that
Fit
you
my
guys
hat.
want to add to Bortles.
I would like to add one thing. 'Cause
Okay.
Like, it's a major thing, actually. I can't believe I didn't mention it earlier. Bortles' dad's name is Robert Bortles. Bob Bortles. That's fantastic. Is there a better dad name than Bob Bortles?
Bob Bortles and Blake.
I mean,
And he's got a
come
brother that played college baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
At Ole Miss. It's too bad Robert's not here that we can.
Wow.
Robert.
Bobby B and
Yeah.
Blake B.
on. I like Bob Bortles.
What do you think we should give the listeners a break before we go into Cody Kessler? Because it's been about 45 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, sure, we'll do that. So we'll come back with some Cody Kessler talk, which basically translates to Jason's going to talk about Cody Kessler. And
Hey, this break's for y'all, not for us, right? we can keep going. I could just easily go into Cody
yeah,
Kessler.
I was
but
trying to make a nice
we're
little
giving y'all a
segue.
break here, okay?
All right, we'll be right back with backup quarterback talk right here on another Jags podcast.
All right, welcome back to another Jags podcast, episode 19.
19.
Gosh, man.
Prime number.
We made it. So we're covering quarterbacks today. Make sure you go back and listen to our last podcast. It's about our other position breakdowns.
You'll love it. Joey wasn't on it. It's
That's
great.
true. Joey missed all the good positions. We did that
Hey,
on purpose.
The last one was actually pretty good.
Of course it was.
Nice.
We made the calendar, and we were like, all right, Joey's going to be out of town. Let's
Yeah.
do the good
Let's
positions.
do as many shows
yeah.
in this week as we can.
So we got Joey back with us. It's nice to have you back. I'll admit it. We give you a lot of crap on the podcast, but it's nice to have you back.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
All right, so we're going to start this segment off with we talked for about 45 minutes about Blake Bortles, which we had to cut it off. So we could have kept going.
We could have easily kept going.
kept going. And I'm sure our next podcast in the future will be more about Bortles. So make sure to listen to those. The backup to Blake Bortles, and because we are breaking down the quarterback position, we have
Chad
to
Henne.
mention not Chad Henne.
No?
Chad Henne is
Oh,
gone.
oh, that's right.
You're thinking of Blaine Gabbert.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chad Haney's the quarterback coach now, right?
No, you're thinking of David Garrard.
Oh,
He's a sports anchor
No.
for a local news station.
No, you're thinking of
G-Rod's
Byron
the,
Leftwich.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's it.
So Cody Kessler is the backup. He was
Cody.
traded for a 7th round conditional pick. So what that means is if he's on the team when the season starts, or is it preseason?
I think it's season.
When
Or
the
maybe when the final rosters.
So when the final rosters are submitted, if he's on the team, we have to give a 7th round pick to the Browns, which is what it is. So Kessler is 6'1", 215. Smaller guy, had some concussions, and okay, listen, don't laugh, Joey. Okay, in 2000.
Wow, that was kind of cold, Joey.
Yeah.
Way to sell me on him straight off the bat.
Listen, I wanted to
Small
give
and
you,
concussed.
Hey, I want to give you the truth.
Honestly, Cody Kessler sounds like an elite women's volleyball player.
All right, well, this women's volleyball player in 2016 played in 9 games and had 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions for the Browns.
Not bad.
Okay, we're not talking like a middle of the pack team that like will score some points.
That's honestly
The Browns,
that's-
like the worst team in the league.
that's balling on the Browns.
That's
for
balling
sure.
on the Browns.
Yeah.
Seriously, it really, really is. His completion percentage was at 64.
Not bad.
Okay. All right. I know it's only 9 games. He's been injured a lot. He only played 3 games last year. Had 1 interception to 0 touchdowns. But, I mean, he only threw 23 passes last year, so we can't really judge him at all last year. I watched every game Cody Kessler played in. I will tell you, what's something about Cody Kessler is he is very, very accurate. And another thing about him is that when he's on the run, he makes good throws. And that goes back to even in college. I mean, the guy was scrambling for his life with the Browns. I mean, every game he played, he was sacked at least 3 times. Think about that. Every game you play, you're going to get sacked at least 3 times. Going into it, you know that.
Ouch.
And he was on the run making good throws. So is he Bortles? No. If Bortles gets hurt, can he come in and manage the game? Absolutely.
So that would be
100%.
my question. If Bortles, God help us, goes down for some reason,
I mean, it's realistic to think about because it happens.
it happens.
Yeah.
And we've been lucky so far.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Do
Yeah.
we have to change the scheme?
No,
much?
that's the thing.
Then
Not at all.
Then I'm happy with
Nothing changes. Honestly, he may be able to manage the game better than Blake.
that. But his upside's
Don't say
not as
that.
much.
I'm just saying.
Hey, Blake, did you hear that? Jason doesn't like you.
Okay, this is what I'm going to say, and this is going to be my hot take for the episode. Okay?
Oh.
If we're up like 40
Hot take of the episode.
if we're up 40-0 on a team, I would rather have Kessler in the game than Bortles.
Of course.
Yeah.
Especially
I
if
can
it's the
see that.
second quarter.
I think Kessler has a lot less percentage of turning the ball over than Blake does.
But he doesn't have that, I'm going to take over a
Yes.
game and win it.
Exactly.
Are you going to start some "We Want Cody" chants at the games?
If you hear "We Want Cody," I promise you it was not coming from me.
10-0. We want Cody.
But y'all see what I'm saying, though?
I do.
That's the type of quarterback he is. Okay, he's not Blake. Okay, I understand that. We're having some fun here, but he is a solid backup option. He's way better than Henne.
And
that's
cheaper.
That's the problem
Yeah.
with Henne is we're paying him too much, and he really didn't add anything at all to the team.
He was terrible. He was
other
awful.
Than,
What he added was in the quarterback's room.
Sure.
You know, and
Maybe
just
as
coaching up
a
Bortles.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
When-
if we have somebody that can plug in,
Which is valuable, but Bortles doesn't need that anymore.
we need somebody on the field.
Yeah. Now, but what I'm saying is Henne did play a good role on the team. It just wasn't necessarily on game day.
Right.
But
Sure.
he helped get Bortles to where he is now. The thing is, Bortles doesn't need him anymore, which is why Kansas City signed Henne for Patrick Mahomes. Same exact thing.
No,
There's
fair enough.
value there.
True.
There's millions, actually, dollars in value there.
All I care about is if Bortles gets some kind of injury, whether it's nagging or has to go out, we got somebody that doesn't change the team altogether. And if he's that guy, then great, man. Plus, he's got some starts. I mean, that's even better.
He's only 25. He's young. He had a 64% passer rating when he was hurried, which is actually very, very good.
Especially if you play for Cleveland, because you're always
Yeah.
Always hurried.
I think Bortles' completion percentage under being hurried was in the 40s.
Yeah, it's low.
So the fact that that's what I'm saying. Improving a play, Kessler is that guy. He really, really is. He finds the open receiver. He really excels at throwing back shoulder and comeback routes to the sidelines. So if you watch those games where Kessler's in, every play he's hitting is those just curls, his back shoulders. His number 1 receiver was Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor moved on and hasn't really done anything.
I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
So are we crediting Kessler for Pryor's
He
success?
was a
Maybe
fantasy
we should.
option for the second half of that season.
Who Pryor?
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand Kessler is a non-point. I'm going to challenge you, listeners, that he is a talking point. Because heaven forbid we need him to come in. And if we're blowing teams out like we think we're going to do.
No, we're going to do.
We got a guy like Kessler coming in. And guy was highly recruited coming out of high school. Top quarterback coming out. He reminds me a lot of Andy Dalton when I watch him play.
Oh.
Kind of looks like that guy. So
To me, even if he was the exact same player as Chad Henne, I'd rather have him just for the sole purpose that he's way cheaper and he's younger. So and I'm sure he is better. So I'll take it. Is if we have a guy that can come in, hopefully if again knock on wood, but if Bortles were to get injured, it's a 2-game stretch. Obviously the defense is going to step up. Everyone kind of steps up their game. It's just natural. So if he can come in and manage and go 1-1, I think that's a win. For a backup. So yeah, I mean, cool.
Well, plus
Cody
he's
Kessler.
25. I mean, better to have a backup quarterback that still wants to collect some checks and prove himself than somebody who's older and made money.
I don't think Chad was itching to get in any game last year.
not at all.
He was
No,
chilling.
He wanted to hold the clipboard.
where's my helmet?
Right.
Yeah.
Helmet.
Oh, I left that back
Right.
there. I'm
Let's
sorry,
go get
guys.
another tattoo.
And Kessler was at Bortles' pool party when he got robbed. So, they have some sort of camaraderie already.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What if it was one of Kessler's buddies trying to play mind games with Blake?
Hey, Kessler could
I don't
probably use
know.
a F-150.
I don't know if Kessler has that kind of influence.
Like on that point, the fact that Blake drives like a maxed out F-150, that's pretty impressive.
Is it a Raptor?
I don't know, but he
Oh.
said it was
Even if it is a
it was
Raptor.
the F-150 that he's had since he was in college.
That's what I'm
No.
saying. I
He
mean,
said he's had an F-150 in college.
Oh, not
He-
the same
even
one.
said
Yeah.
Raptor if it was a Raptor.
Yeah, it's not a Raptor, but it's not the one. He said he's driven him since college.
okay.
But still, though, I mean, the top of the line
So
F-150,
he's used to
like
the-
50 grand.
No, his is nice. I've actually seen it. It's
Okay,
like
sure.
black, I think.
But
Dude,
black
maybe
and-
nice
60 grand.
F-150s are not cheap.
No,
Yeah.
but
Not nice
dude,
F-150s
he
are
could
not
drive
cheap.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
whatever he wanted.
Trust me, I know
Yeah.
firsthand. But so I mean, y'all have anything else on Kessler? I mean, hey guys, we watched film on Kessler. Who else is doing that for you?
Right,
honestly?
right.
We're doing that for you. All right, so after Kessler, we have Tanner Lee.
Quick release.
I did hear he had a quick release.
got a quick
Jason,
release.
What do you think about him?
I think the
If
Jags
there's-
are going to have a quick release on him. Is what I think.
I think there's 2 words that sum up Tanner Lee is quick release.
Yeah, quick release.
I mean, if you watch the guy play, he does have kind of like an abnormally quick release.
A quick release.
All right. So we're stretching here, guys, trying to find yourself on Tanner Lee. All right. So the quickest recorded release is Aaron Rodgers. He's got a 2.2 second release. Pretty good.
Makes sense.
Okay. I think Tanner, I don't know. I'm just guessing. But from the eyeball test, it looks like Tanner Lee's is around 2.8, 2.9.
Yeah, I'd
Do they
agree with
factor
that.
in, like, it actually being on target, or is it just how quickly you get rid of the ball?
So if you ask like Nebraska fans, they're not big on Tanner Lee, which is
Really?
a little concerning. But scouts are. So,
Dude, he's not going to make the team. Why are we
No.
talking about him?
well,
Practice squad.
yeah, he'll be a practice squad
Yeah.
quarterback for sure. I mean, how long did Brandon Allen stick around?
What I don't understand is why they even drafted him in the first place. Just sign him as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have gone drafted. That's a good point.
But whatever.
Hey,
I'm not too concerned about it.
you know what though? He does have a quick release.
He's got a quick release.
When he drops back, he's getting the ball out.
Don't blink. Don't blink, everybody.
I want to see some videos of the quick release.
Hey, if you go on our Twitter, another Jags pod, we have
Just
a
pay
video-
attention because you're not going to see it.
so
quick.
fast.
we have a video up there of Tanner Lee.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we're being like super realistic here for a second, if Bortles went down for the whole season, which we've seen every quarterback in our division do in the last 2 years, I would feel really comfortable with Kessler coming in.
I'd feel really comfortable that Fowler would be getting traded for a quarterback at that point.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Somebody.
Maybe.
I don't know though. That's what I'm saying.
If
I
he
don't
goes down for
think
the whole
so.
season, that changes a lot.
Really?
I mean,
You
think about who the
Kessler's
backups
that
are in our
manageable?
own division. Blaine Gabbert for the Titans. Is it still Tom Savage in Houston, and then Jacoby Brissett? I mean,
That's
these
a good
guys.
point.
These
There's
guys
only so
are.
many people out there.
But then here's the thing, though. Here they probably would go. They'd have to go get someone else because you're not going to have Tanner Lee be your next backup if Kessler gets hurt. Because
Yeah,
like you
that's
said
true.
in the opening,
That's
he's
true.
been concussed.
That's when you get Jay Cutler.
Yeah, bring him
Cool
on.
J's
I don't know,
coming
he's got
in
a
as
new
a
reality
backup.
show.
Dude, that reality show is fantastic. If nobody's watched the first
No,
episode,
I haven't seen
it
it.
brings in a cooler full of elk meat, and you just got to watch it. It is classic Cutler.
You had me at elk meat.
Dude, it's worth watching. Have to say.
But
Go for it.
I mean, if Bortles goes down for 2 or 3 games or even a 4-game stretch, I'm fine with Kessler. But a whole season, That's rough because this team is built to win right now. They're ready to win. And I would definitely call the Jets about Bridgewater at that point. But if it's just a short period of time, I like Kessler, but oh man, it'd be a shame to. I mean, I would definitely make some phone calls and just see at least who's willing to talk.
That's my biggest concern is him getting hurt. I mean, honestly, out of the entire team, and it's kind of crazy to say that because he's been the concern. Can he do it? But at this point, it's like, dude, just be healthy like you always have been. If he is, I think we're fine. And on that note, as far as like winning, Romo picked us to be in the Super Bowl this year against the Packers.
Yep.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty legit guy. Also on that, if we make a run, man.
Wait, what are you saying? You're saying call Tony Romo and have him play for us?
It's possible.
Okay.
Hey, Con, checkbook out.
Right.
Next 3 Super Bowls, Atlanta, Miami, Tampa.
Dynasty.
Hey,
We
can
can drive to all of them.
We make a run. They're all close.
Yeah, they are.
Pretty awesome.
Anything else y'all want to add about the quarterbacks? If not, we're going to get to the Twitter questions.
Go for the Twitter
Twitter questions, y'all cool with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right,
we
so-
did just say that we're going to make the next 3 Super Bowls, but yeah.
I did lock that in.
Yeah,
I
you
was
did.
really zoned out
Yeah,
there.
I know.
So,
It's like, nothing, Jason?
I let that one slide off. When Joey talks,
Joey is full of guarantees now. It's amazing.
You can tell he hasn't been here in a
Yeah, I
couple
know.
weeks.
You can put a guarantee on a box. And
Yeah.
oh, wait, how's that
He's
go?
got his composition book out of what he's been writing down since he's been gone. All right, so we just sort of say thank you to everyone who's been hitting us up on Twitter and asking us questions. We really appreciate it. Your questions kind of springboard a lot of our conversation. So we're going to jump right to some of our Twitter questions. This one's from @the Noah Bennett. We like Noah. Noah's
He's one of our biggest
It's
fans.
not his,
We
not his
like
first
Noah.
one.
Noah's awesome.
So Noah says, okay, he wants to know about how the Jaguars' position groups vary against our divisional opponents and where our strengths and weaknesses lie.
Well, it's a good question. I'll say this too because we've basically wrapped up all the position groups. Quarterback was the last one. We're kind of done talking about that. So we've now gone through. If you haven't heard, listen to all our prior episodes, and we go through each position group all the way from tight ends, offense, defensive line, secondary, all of it, and besides special teams. And this is what I will say. After really looking at all of our position groups, is that we have a stacked team.
Absolutely.
We are spoiled with players this year. I mean, our biggest concern for most position groups was depth. Was it what if so and so gets hurt? The only real question we had about a specific position on the team was strong side linebacker. Filling Posluszny's position.
And I would throw nickel cornerback into that as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's on the same level though. Do you have concern?
I would say it's equal because they're both going to see about the same amount of snaps, I think.
For me personally, I think the linebacker is a little more concerning. Just because the defense is so good, I think that it's going to be more forgiving at nickel, and that's really it. But yeah, I mean that's really, and then we found ourselves searching for concerns at a lot of position groups, like offensive line. Well, how's our right tackle and right guard going to look? Listen, you go through rosters of other NFL teams, and there are question marks everywhere.
Yeah.
We had to look and try and find some a lot of times going through all these. So, man, this team is really good in terms of on paper. It's really good. So how we stack up, we kind of touched on Bortles with his position group in our division. It's hard to, I think, running back, I don't know. Where do we start in all this?
I mean, I'm trying to think. What is there a position group inside the division that you would take over ours?
Tight end would be the only thing that I could say. Maybe wide receiver, but
DeAndre
honestly,
Hopkins,
Will Fuller.
Yeah,
you would take Will Fuller over?
I'm saying the tandem of
The
Hopkins
tandem?
and
Okay.
Fuller is pretty good. It's pretty good, and they have a pretty decent tight end too.
well, plus the Tennessee tight end. I mean, that guy's a stud. Outside
Yeah.
of that, though, man, I mean,
The Titans'
honestly,
offensive line gets a lot of hype too.
I don't know enough about him.
Like Taylor Lewan,
Jake Matthews, is he on their team? Is he their left tackle?
Jake Matthews from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're good, but I mean, my point would be like, we either match up or are better than anybody can think of in our division.
Okay, let's do it real quick. Corners, without
That's
a doubt.
us. That's
Done.
easy. Yeah.
Defensive line,
Done.
That's
without
us
a doubt.
easy.
Linebackers,
I still think that's us.
I do too.
Yeah.
The only one that would be close is Houston because of Whitney Merciless, technically a linebacker.
Yeah, but still us, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so what about safeties?
Us.
Yeah, I think. On
Well,
defense,
what about Houston? They have Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Matthew's good.
And,
then,
can't remember their other guy. But even that's a push.
I think on the defensive side of the ball, it's not even a question.
yeah, I would agree. I think defense across the board, I'm
Right.
taking every position group.
Okay. I agree. Offense, Fournette. What about running back? Anyone else?
Derrick Henry is good.
Dude, Derrick Henry is a goal line running back.
No,
and
he
a
tore us up last year.
Yeah. No,
He's good,
not.
but I don't think
not
he's Fournette.
man.
I don't think he's Fournette.
He's good. I love him because he's.
I think he's
here.
comparable.
I think he's great, but no, he's not that guy. Plus, we don't know what kind of offense they're going to run. I mean, we have no idea what they're going to do.
Does Indy even have a running back on their roster?
Who's that guy they had?
Mac? What,
Adrian James.
Mac.
Yeah. No, Mac was pretty good, right?
Max, there's another guy there that kind of came out.
He was
of
a
the
rookie.
scene.
It
last
doesn't matter
year.
who they have because their offensive line is so bad.
But just play. But just
Yeah,
straight-
Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack.
And they
That's
picked up Robert Turbin.
Okay.
So again,
That's a lot of people are big on Robert Turbin, but
Fournette.
So I
is
take Fournette,
okay.
as good or better.
Yeah. Okay.
and I'm saying still, I'll take Bortles over all the quarterbacks in our division. Deshaun Watson is a tough one,
Yeah.
but just because he's coming off an ACL, and
That's tough though. Man, Mariota.
If I knew Mariota was healthy, I would take him over Bortles, and I'm a big Bortles fan.
you just said Bortles making the Pro Bowl.
He is because
All
I
right.
don't know Mariota's healthy. I mean,
He doesn't have a lot of weapons around him either. He's got a tight end. That's about it. A decent running back.
Corey Davis could ball out.
And
this
I'm not
year.
as big on him as a lot of people are though.
I don't know. Size, speed. He was
Yeah,
hurt. He
but-
was hurt last year.
Size and speed is good, but how many players are like dominant on just size and speed? Like if you're able to catch and get open.
Yeah, I will say I'd take Delaney Walker over our tight ends.
Yeah,
I'd
I
take
would take
Delaney
Delaney
Walker
Walker.
maybe over every
Yeah.
tight end in the NFL. That guy's so underrated.
Yeah. He's probably the only player I would want.
he's a stud.
He is
Yeah.
very good.
Taylor
Again,
Lewan's good too.
Like everything being said, like as of today, yes, I would take Bortles over the rest of them. As far
Yeah.
as what we know from last season.
yeah, because the guy doesn't get injured.
No.
No.
I mean, what good are these guys if they're not playing?
Drives an F-150.
Tight end, we're not the best. What about wide receivers?
Well,
Ooh.
obviously DeAndre Hopkins. I'm taking
Yeah,
him.
I'm
He's-
taking Hopkins and
Absolute
Fuller.
Beast.
Yeah, those two. I like Fuller too.
Fuller and I don't know. Keelan Cole over Will Fuller.
That's like a push to me, and that's our one versus their like two. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's also a guy that was drafted versus an undrafted rookie.
Yeah, but
who
still,
could make a big
Fuller
leap
won.
this year.
You're calling
Yeah.
Kohler one?
Oh,
He
did
did
you
last
not
week.
listen to
You-
the po-
you-
I
you
did.
say listen to the podcast.
I did. This is my chance to argue that. Really? Cole?
Yeah, I think he doesn't start the season one, but I think he ends the season one.
Hey, I was his biggest fan in the
You
preseason
can't argue that
last
because that hasn't happened yet. So
Right.
year. All right. We'll see.
I think he could start the season one. Really. I mean, you don't
It's
know.
possible. It's very possible.
Marquise Lee, I think they love Marquise Lee.
I think where they're going to see him is 1A and 1B,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
which is
so
fine. But yeah, I would take DeAndre Hopkins over whoever our 1 is, but I would take whoever our 2 is over anyone else's 2.
yeah.
There's just not a strong wide receiver
No, not in the AFC South.
group in the AFC
Yeah.
South.
So Hopkins. So we were like a 1B on that one.
Yeah, I'd take that. And
Yep.
even we don't. I mean, look, we don't know. Delaney Walker is a great tight end, but Safarian Jenkins could have a really good year this year. We don't know. What are you laughing at that? You don't think so?
I'd be just Homer. Sure.
No, more
he's
than
gonna
that.
be
No,
good.
No, I
than
think
that.
he could be awesome, but for you to say that just shows how much of a Jag fan you are.
Well, of course I am. But I
Which
mean,
is
I'm
great.
just saying, like, we don't know because he's brand new on the
Everything out
team.
of
We don't know
camp-
what to expect.
Everything out of camp says he's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
I agree. But that's a
Not even
huge-
out of camp. Like he was good. He was good with the Jets when McCown was playing quarterback. He had really good numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he could be at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits right now, and we don't know.
Easy,
I mean,
man. Come on now.
I'm just saying,
he's,
man.
He's turned the
We
page.
got somebody who's
Come
proved
on.
himself for somebody
Goodness
who
gracious.
has questions.
Let a man have a second chance, you jerk.
It really would be his third chance, but I'm with you nonetheless. All right, offensive line. I don't know, but Titans pretty good. Taylor Lewan, Jack Conklin, Josh Klein, Quentin Spain, Chance Warmack.
But again, I think that's a push, if anything.
Yeah, our left side's so good.
All right.
We just signed the best guard in the NFL.
I love Norwell, but Cam Robinson, like the more time he's not playing, the more like scared I'm getting about
Really?
him.
Why?
Because like all his like grading out isn't good.
Dude, he
Like
looked-
eyeball test, I that's what I'm saying.
he
Like I know
started his rookie year of that position.
he
and
was
did
injured a
quite well.
lot.
Well,
Talk to Baselli about grading out with offensive linemen.
Okay,
yes.
that's true. He
Baselli-
loves him.
Baselli thinks
He
he's a
loves.
stud,
Yeah,
yeah.
he loves.
I do too. I thought he had a great
it's
rookie
good enough
year.
for me.
He
Yeah.
passed the eyeball test, but it's just everything else.
It seems like really what we're going back. I mean, the Colts are going to be dead last this year based off what we're talking about in terms of position groups.
Well, I think more so what we're getting at is we don't need to be judging ourselves against our division. We need to be judging ourselves against the top teams in the league.
Right.
I mean, finally.
Yeah.
Which is great. So, I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next Twitter question.
Okay.
And this one comes from @DynastyVoodoo. So be careful how you answer because
Don't put that video
I
in
agree.
your body.
I agree, Mr. Dynasty. Yes.
all right, he's asking who is going to be the best fantasy pass catcher at the end of next season.
Keelan Cole.
Okay, I'm going to say Safarian Jenkins, just because of touchdowns.
Ooh, wild card. You going to take my Keelan Cole answer like that?
No, I love Keelan Cole.
He laughed in your face when he said number
I
one.
know,
And right out of that,
seriously.
Keelan Cole.
Yeah,
I only
yeah.
did
Quick
that
release.
to stir
Yeah.
the pot. I love Keelan Cole. I
Yeah.
think he's going to, by far.
Yeah, well, if you listen to our wide receiver podcast last week, I was really big on Keelan Cole. The guy averages almost 20 yards a reception. I think that's big in fantasy. I think his production only increases this year with more touchdowns, so I agree. Keelan Cole.
And if we're talking about fantasy, that is a good late round value pick.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to be going in.
No.
Nobody's taking him in the
yeah.
top 4 or 5.
Safarian Jenkins might be a good one, too.
Yeah.
Because he will probably get a lot of high-volume pass catching, and if you're in a PPR league, then, I mean, he could have 10 receptions for 60 yards.
Yeah.
And 2 touchdowns. So his yards aren't that high, but, you know, he's a guy, I heard him described as like a catch and fall guy, which is really accurate, but he's really good at it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what you need, you know, a guy that can catch the ball in the middle of the field. So, yeah, that's a good point. What about anything outside of Keelan Cole? You think Lee has a chance, or Moncrief?
Well, again, if you listen to episode 18, when we talked about wide receivers, we kind of talked about Marquise Lee's value isn't around the end zone. He only had 3 touchdowns last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would stay away from him, even if he is the number 1 receiver, you know, on the depth chart going into the year, just because, you know, he's not going to put up those monster numbers. He's a move the chains on third down guy, not a fantasy. Your prototypical fantasy wide receiver. I would say Dante Moncrief will probably get you more points than Marquise Lee.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great flyer in the late rounds. Because who knows? I mean, that guy might blow up in the system that we have and the environment we have. That'd be like my guy, like a sleeper pick. But who knows with that guy?
Can I give y'all some quick fantasy advice though?
Yeah, sure.
This is free.
Yeah.
If this is what I found to be true for myself. What has given me success is in fantasy. Hey,
water just came through my nose, James. I'm sorry.
who was the
Keep
first
going.
person in our league to win? Answer me that, Joey. Yeah, that's what I
was
thought.
you.
That's what I thought.
I
Yeah.
agree, but that was
and here-
4 years ago.
And when I realized I did a tailspin after that, and then last year I had a good year, made it all the way to the championship, a lot further than Joey, if I do recall. Don't draft Jaguars. It's too hard emotionally.
Yeah.
You get too invested in it.
It's true. I almost made the playoffs last year based on the Jaguars' defense, though. I did take them.
Yeah, defense, yes, and even maybe Fournette. But other than that, I would not draft a single Jaguar. If you're serious about fantasy and you want to win your league, if you're just doing it for poops and giggles, that's fine. But if you want to actually win, if you are a diehard Jaguar fan, do not draft Jaguars, because when it comes down to you got player B versus Blake Bortles, who you put in.
Bortles, that's a dumb question.
Bortles, exactly. Yeah. But and then
No, that's a great point, because your homerness is going to come in. Especially with wide receivers, man.
Yeah,
That's the hardest position group to pick.
It ruined me so many times.
Lambeau, maybe.
Yeah, Lambeau, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Fournette too. I mean, that dude went off early in the year.
I would, Fournette, because he's going to get a high volume of touches. He's legit. He's kind of a no-brainer. You're going to insert him in your lineup. But all these other guys, it's like, you know, do I play him? Do I not? It's just easier to not draft him.
Yeah, you'll be happier that way.
Yeah. You can enjoy the game more. And then if you're going against someone that is starting a Jag and they score whatever, even though it's against you, you're still happy.
So I guess just to make sure we're answering the question accurately, what about top wide receiver fantasy-wise in the league?
Antonio Brown.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Beckham's back this year.
Antonio Brown.
All right.
He's the best. In my opinion, he's the best.
Oh, I think he's
the
the best by far. But
Julio Jones, I think, is going to make a bounce, but he had a terrible fantasy year.
Yardage, not touchdowns, though. I mean, he's always like
I
that.
think the Falcons are going to have a good year this year.
I do too.
I
I
think
think
so,
they're
too.
going to bounce back, because
Yeah.
they really they just missed the playoffs.
Barely.
So it wasn't like they had a bad year.
And they have a good offense and defense. It's not like they're like one-dimensional like a lot of these teams are. But for me, I'm going to say, just to go differently, I could definitely see Odell Beckham being leading the league, and just because of touchdowns alone. I mean, when you're in the red zone, you're throwing a fade to Odell, and it's crazy because he's not even a tall guy, but just comes down with everything.
Just remember, though, the first week, he's not going to get any catches
That's
or any
true.
yards or any points
I
at
know.
all.
I know. He'll make up for that, though, the rest of the year. But Antonio Brown, I mean, he's 30 now, and Roethlisberger's getting old. Offensive line's getting some holes in it. Le'Veon Bell's all over the place with his contract.
Now, I'm kind of giving away some secrets here because Joey and I are in the same league, so I shouldn't be saying this. But because our followers have asked us a question, and y'all are that important, I'm going to say this. Look out for Josh Gordon.
Ooh.
Look out for Josh Gordon. Could be have a monster year. I'm telling you, I'm on the Cleveland bandwagon
kind of
big
like
time.
a trap.
I am
No.
very.
Sounds like a little trap statement there.
Telling you,
I am
Joey, you should really consider
I am
Josh
very
Gordon.
high on Josh Gordon, just like he's high right now. With the quarterback situation there, no, I'm not taking Josh Gordon, man. Not happening.
All right.
But I mean, I would agree. Antonio Brown. I love Julio Jones, but if you look at the touchdowns in the past 5 years, actually, Antonio Brown almost has twice as much.
Yeah. Antonio Brown is so good.
Dude, he's ridiculous.
I mean, we
man.
saw firsthand.
And
Yeah.
he's nasty.
You don't need to tell Jaguar fans that.
Yeah, unless Roethlisberger or he gets hurt. I mean, he's the best.
We do appreciate the questions, and keep sending us your
Love 'em.
questions. We'll answer them more as we go on.
Got training camp coming up a couple weeks. We're going to be talking about that. We have a couple polarizing questions. We're just going to let that Garrett dangle for next week.
Let that
But
simmer with the listeners.
yeah, let it simmer a little bit. Maybe involving Dave Caldwell, some other things like that. Going to be talking about as we head into training camp, and then once we start with training camp, that's football season's begun.
What's polarizing
on the
about Dave
precipice.
Caldwell's awesomeness?
We'll have to wait and see. Have to wait and see.
He does shop at Marsh Landing Publix. It's pretty polarizing.
Speaking of polarizing, Tebow's hitting like 276 now.
Yeah.
That's right, he
And
is.
he jacked his what?
For
Guaranteed he goes
eight home
AAA
run.
next year.
For a terrible Mets team, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets called up this year
This year?
to the big boys
I
in
heard
September.
AAA is next year is like a pretty serious thing.
AAA is not the same thing anymore. He'll get called straight up from AA.
In September in baseball, you can expand your rosters.
Yeah.
If you're in dead last, no one's coming because football season started. You bring Tebow to a couple home games, you're going to make a ton of money.
If you also like throw out the
See,
first,
people are saying he's like a gimmick, but the dude's almost
he's
batting
not.
300.
Listen, I'm not saying he's
not
a gimmick.
He's
I'm
not
not
a-
saying he's a
not
gimmick.
anymore.
No.
He's not a ticket
At
sales
first,
guy.
I was like, this is questionable. But
He's-
if you thought the first quarter of the season, he's batting way over 300.
No, he's not a gimmick at all. That's the thing. They can justify it.
Yeah.
But it is going to sell them a ton more tickets, and good for them to do so. It is a business.
I would buy a Tebow Mets T-shirt jersey tomorrow if they pull him up.
Yeah. I'd be so happy
believe it.
for him if he did.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be great, man.
Anyway.
I mean, talk about following your dreams, man. That's awesome.
Can we just, for a moment, just talk about how accurate my World Cup pick has been?
It's been pretty incredible.
we?
You picked Croatia
Yes, he did.
from the beginning.
From like the
Pretty early.
after group stage, I think.
Yeah.
After group stage.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Pretty
I just
amazing.
wanted to hear you say that,
Joey, who was your pick again?
Let's see. I went from every person I picked lost as soon as I picked them. I switched like 3 different times and they all lost.
So you're a Titans fan this year, right? Yeah.
Rooting for the Titans
Yeah.
hardcore. Yeah,
Oh,
so I mean,
That's hard to say even
I
joking.
am rooting for Croatia tomorrow, though. So it means France is.
That's what everyone's been saying about Croatia the whole
Okay,
time.
listen, we're like so far past time. Now we're talking World Cup. Let's end this bad boy. Thank you all so much for listening to episode 19 of Another Jags podcast. We will be back next week with another episode. We're just going to keep this whole thing going. We are counting down the days until training camp, preseason, and then the regular season in September. It's going to be here before we know it, and we are so excited. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to keep the questions coming on Twitter at Another Jags Pod or on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. Tell your friends you can find us on every single podcast platform, whether it be SoundCloud or iTunes or anything like that. We're grateful for y'all. We're excited about what's to come. And as always, go Jags.